Hi, my name is Dearest Craig, and welcome to Make Gospel Music. We're going to be talking about some interesting subjects today. The 5 stages of recording. This can take place in the studio, this can take place in a live recording format, this can take place in multiple different ways, but there are a few things that you want to know when it comes to making music, how that process typically goes. When you set out to record a song, maybe it's an album, but a lot of the steps are going to be the same regardless of how many songs you're trying to release at once. So let's go. First phase, you're going to have your pre-production aspect. That means that you're getting together with whoever your producer is. If you are the songwriter or you have someone else writing a song for you, you're meeting with that person to see if they can help you find the vision for your song. What type of song do you want to write? What genre is it going to be? What is the message of the song? You want to have these things in mind as you're setting out to write the song, because it's going to shape your music, how you approach your music. It's going to shape how you approach your vocal, and it's going to shape how you approach all of the other things that come together to make the song. So find someone that you trust. If you're not the songwriter, you need to find a good songwriter. There are some people that are called topliners, and they will put the lyrics to it. They'll put the melody lines to it and just kind of create the vocal part of the song if it's not already there. So those are some good people to connect with. You also want to connect with a music producer if you are not a musician, so they can help you understand what is the way that we can get all of the musical aspects of this song recorded. Unless you're just doing the whole song a cappella, which in this day and time you can do it, but it's not always the easiest thing to pull off unless you are an a cappella group and you know how to encapsulate all of those elements that we look for. We usually have music and lyrics, vocals and lyrics together in a musical composition. So you can do it however you see fit, whatever your vision is. Maybe it's a spoken word. So you may want to write out all of your poetry and your lines before you decide to go into the studio to record. So you want to have the composition ahead of time. That's the music. That's whatever is the foundation for the composition that you're writing musically. So having a musician that is working with you, and the musician can be the producer as well, the one that is laying the foundation of that music. If you want it to be scored, songwriters, there are some people that know how to read and write music. So you can get with those people as well and have them lend their part to this process. So pre-production, you want to have those elements in place so that by the time you get to the studio, you know pretty much where you're going with the song. You may not have every detail in place. Sometimes creativity strikes while you're in the studio. So don't be afraid if you don't have everything together, but you want to have most of your elements together so that you know what you're going to do. Production phase. What that looks like for you is that you're going to have people that are going into the studio to record, or if you're having people record remotely, the way that the time is now, we have the ability to send people things so that they can record it from home and send it back to you. So maybe you have a background vocalist that has committed to singing the songs, add their background vocal takes, and then send the song back to you. Or you may have musicians that can record remotely and send the song back to you. But if you want to take the people into the studio, that's going to require scheduling. It requires you to find people that can ensure that you're going into the studio, syncing your timetable with the studio that you're going to, and making sure everyone else's schedule agrees. So the producer, that's part of their job, is to help you with that, unless you take that onto yourself and you're using people that you know and communicate with, and you're making those connections. So here are some things that you want to take note of when you're going to the studio to record. Practice is essential. You may not have everything worked out by the time you get to the studio. Everybody may not already know the song by the time you get to the studio. You have to factor all of that into your time, because most studios will do a hourly rate or they'll do a day rate. Either way, time is money. So you want to be very thoughtful about that process going into the studio. And you also want to be thoughtful of the process that the people that you're bringing into the studio, some of them may be willing to help you out and do it for free or do it at a discounted rate. But either way you go, most people are very conscious of their time, especially if they work in the music industry. They're going to want to make sure that their time is being well spent. So that is why you do have to have a certain level of preparation before you go into the studio. With that being said, one of the things that I've learned over time is that some things you can avoid having issues of time management and scheduling. Maybe you have a certain group that's going into the studio at a certain time. Maybe you want to have your vocalists come at a different time than your band. I learned this the hard way because sometimes you may be trying to kind of squeeze everything into one night. And if you all haven't practiced it in advance, it can slow down your production time, and you want everyone to be able to have a chance to participate when they do come out to the studio for you. So be aware of that. You may even choose to separate the band into different times. You might have your rhythm section, bass, your drums, and those people come in at a different time than whoever is playing keys. Maybe the producer plays keys as well. Just different things that you want to kind of be aware of, and we'll get more into that as well. But musicians, just know you want to consult with your producer about having a solid base for your musical aspect. So that may require you contracting musicians at different levels and different skill sets to be able to meet that. Just so you have a picture of what goes into your average song. You have stringed instruments, you have horns, you have guitars, which includes bass and lead guitars, rhythm guitars, and acoustic. You have keys, which can include organ, keyboards, or piano. And you also have auxiliary instruments such as synth. And there are also things that go with that. The producer may opt to have a production where you're allowing people to have the sound effects, certain things that go into the song. So just keep all those things in mind when you're scheduling things. So you know, okay, this is what I need to budget for. The producer is going to let you know what things to spend money on and what things may not be essential for the recording if they know their job and they're doing their job well. So keep all of those things in mind. The next thing that you need to know is that for the actual process of getting these songs recorded, you're going to want to plan to practice your vocal. If you are the lead vocalist, you want to have a game plan when you're going into the studio. Even if you feel like you're not the best singer, you have to understand that part of what you're doing in the studio, a lot of it is confidence. And you want to pick a good producer that can push you and encourage you to be better and show you how to deliver a great performance. But some of it is going to come from the security in yourself of knowing who you are. So what that means is if you know that your range is maybe not as high as you would like for it to be, there are exercises that you can do to strengthen your range, extend your range vocally, and not just the high register, but the low register as well. You have to do your research on those things. But either way, if you know, maybe I don't have the time to devote to putting into these vocal exercises in order to strengthen that means I need to do my due diligence and know which keys I can't hit. You have to know your strengths. You have to know your voice. So you have to practice. You have to understand what can I do with my voice? What can I not do? So that when you are in the studio, you're not using your time, you're not wasting your time trying to execute things that you don't know how to do or your voice won't allow you to do. So that's where it goes back to knowing your voice, knowing yourself, knowing what you're capable of. It's okay if you don't have a voice like Aretha Franklin or Luther Vandross, but know what your voice is capable of. And that will save you a lot of headache in the studio and your engineer as well. And that's the other thing too. Don't be afraid to allow that engineer or producer or whoever to make use of autotune. It is very, very common in modern music, and some of it is not the really obvious auto-tune artificial sound that we may hear, on trap or rap records. Some of it is very natural. So if you want to have that conversation with your producer, just let them know what you're looking for and make sure you're allowing them to apply those tools to your voice or the background singer's voice in order to make sure you have the best vocal. You may also want to bring someone that is a featured artist into the studio as well. That goes down into etiquette. You may want to network with people, create those relationships so that you can do that. And we'll get into that into another episode.